The shuttle landed with a hiss and a thud, delicate in sound, brutal in reality. Kyrian 7 wasn't built for comfort. The outer rim base rotated slowly above the dead rock of Delvar, lights blinking in rhythm with surveillance pulses. Elara Myles stepped onto the platform, flanked by 2 Threxan escorts, both towering and expressionless, their mirrored exosuits humming with internal diagnostics. She adjusted her diplomat robes, layered in soft teal with neural thread embroidery, formal, peaceful, harmless. It was a lie, and so was she. "State your designation," a mechanical voice buzzed. The customs node scanned her irises, voice print, gait. Envoy Elara Myles. United Human Colonies, Department of Interstellar Research. Her tone was neutral, bordering disinterested. The node blinked. Clearance accepted. Physical scans commence. She knew this part. A full-body neural sweep would scan for weapons, implants, even muscle tension irregularities. She'd trained for it. Her real gear was hidden inside bone sheath cavities, beneath biosuppressants that mimicked civilian patterns. They wouldn't find anything. Not unless they tore her apart. And they wouldn't dare, not to a diplomat. The Threxans prided themselves on order. "Move," said one escort. The hallway was sterile, curved, whisper quiet. Light panels overhead flickered faintly in deliberate intervals. Kyrian 7 didn't have shadows. It had surveillance zones. Every corridor was a throat waiting to swallow. Inside the central chamber, Elara was greeted by Director Thol Varn. Tall, pale green skin with lattice ridges flanking his neck, Varn's presence wasn't commanding, it was suffocating. He smiled the way a predator does, too confident in its cage. "Captain, excuse me, Envoy Myles," he said, emphasizing the title with a smirk. "Your people are growing bold, sending a negotiator to a research station." "I'm not here to negotiate," she replied calmly. "Merely to observe." "Of course," Varn said. "Right this way." He led her through the observation deck, massive glass revealing the rotating core of the station, labs, energy conduits, reactor spirals. But not the sublevel she came for. That part didn't exist on schematics. Not officially. That's where they were growing the parasites. She glanced sideways. "Your AI, Jernax, it still manages base integrity?" "Indeed. It logs every breath. Nothing happens here that Jernax doesn't see." He turned his eyes toward her. "Don't worry. You're safe here, human." That wasn't comforting. Hours later, she was in her quarters. Sparse. Too clean. No vents, only filtration slits that could flood the room with gas in a heartbeat. She sat on the bed, still. Listening. A faint knock. 3 taps. Pause. 2. She opened the panel beneath the desk. Lieutenant Vale emerged, dust-streaked, nervous. 37 Threxan scientists. 9 weaponized symbiotes confirmed, he whispered, pushing a data shard into her palm. Varn's launching them in 23 hours. Ambassadors, they're calling them. How many hosts? Over 5,000 ready. They've already picked targets, human colony hubs. Peace talks are the cover. Elara closed her eyes for a second. Of course. What about security windows? Jernax logs deaths, injuries, movement spikes. But, he paused. There's a quirk in the AI. Explain. It's programmed to prioritize Threxan life. Any sudden vitals drop? It waits 11 seconds to confirm before lockdown, just in case it's a false alarm. And it only triggers red status if the threat persists after that. Her pulse slowed. 11 seconds. A flaw disguised as loyalty. That's the gap, she murmured. Maybe. But you'll be alone. No way to extract without triggering the core lockdown. I don't plan on running, she said, eyes cold. Vale hesitated. Elara, if this goes sideways. It won't. Later that night, she shed the diplomat robes like dead skin. Beneath, matte black weave armor, light reactive, lined with memory filaments that mimicked civilian patterns when dormant. Her knives clicked into their wrist sheaths. Twin suppressor darts fitted at her thigh. The combat AI implanted behind her ear flickered on with a pulse of readiness. Mission clock initiated. 11 seconds per window, the voice said. She slipped into the corridor, her steps matching the station's pulse light. Not stealth, rhythmic camouflage. She passed a sentry post. One guard. Threxan. Her hand flicked once. Dart. Neck. Drop. 9 seconds. She dragged the body behind a pillar. Jurnax is pinging yellow, her AI said. Reset count. Next. She moved fast, clean. Another corridor. 2 guards talking about some trivial test subject behavior. They never saw her. 7 seconds. 6. Done. The AI's voice remained calm. Zone cleared. Jurnax remains yellow. Threshold not breached. She dropped into maintenance level 12. The floor here vibrated. Below her, the sublab. Off-grid. Illegal. Undocumented. But real. The entrance shimmered, a false wall cloaked in phase glass. She placed the shard veil gave her on the panel. The door flickered. Access granted. Inside, biotubes. Pulsing. Dozens. Maybe more. Each one housed a host. Human bodies. Still breathing. Minds gone. Ambassadors. One moved, twitching in reflex. Eyes open, milky white, leaking black sludge from the corners. She recorded everything. Voice notes. Video. DNA traces. The evidence would bury the Threxans. Then the doors hissed behind her. She turned fast, blade half-drawn. Varn stood there, neural gun in hand, calm as gravity. You are impressive, he said. Your security's sloppy. No, he replied. You're just faster than our models allowed for. I'll fix that in the next batch. You won't have the chance. Varn smirked. You won't make it out alive, Captain. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. I don't need to, she said, taking one silent step forward. I just need 11 seconds. The air was too still. Elara's blade hovered mid-draw, her eyes locked on Director Varn's weapon. The neural dampener gun shimmered with ambient energy, non-lethal, but enough to fry her nervous system for several minutes. She'd never survive the follow-up. She calculated the angle. Distance, 3.4 meters. Wind drag, irrelevant in sealed air. Time to close the gap, 2.1 seconds. But Varn wasn't moving. You thought we wouldn't notice you slipping in, he said, voice controlled. But you killed too clean. Too fast. Our guards die slowly. You didn't give them the dignity of time. Elara didn't speak. Words were time. She needed seconds. He stepped forward. Your kind doesn't belong in war. You pause. You reflect. You feel. That's why we win. She moved. The blade snapped free in a blur, her body angling left. Varn pulled the trigger, but not fast enough. The neural burst skimmed her shoulder, stinging, numbing part of her arm. But not before her knife buried in the weapon's joint, disabling it with a quiet snap. He staggered, surprised. She spun behind him, gripped his throat, pulled him down, and pressed the blade just above his spinal crest. You're wrong, she whispered. We kill when we must. And when we do, we don't blink. He smiled even as her grip tightened. And yet, too late. A soft ping echoed. Jurnax, unauthorized breach detected. Base lockdown in 30 seconds. Her jaw clenched. The kill had taken 12.8 seconds. Varn had stalled her. The AI had triggered a deeper protocol. No time for extraction. No exit plans. No backup. She ripped his ID tag and sprinted for the exit. The corridors pulsed red now. The elegant silence of the station was shattered by klaxons and artificial voice warnings. Containment breach. Evacuate non-critical personnel. All corridors sealing in 60 seconds. Her boots struck the floor in perfect rhythm, 5 strides per light panel. Behind her, blast doors slammed shut one by one. She jumped a corner, slid across a polished edge, bypassed a closing gate with less than a meter to spare. A guard rounded the corner ahead. He didn't even have time to shout. The dart hit his throat. He dropped. 8 seconds. She kept running. The station's anatomy lived in her head. She knew where the surveillance gaps were. Where the AI's focus narrowed to external threats. The Threxans had built Carrion 7 to anticipate human unpredictability. Ironically, that made it predictable. She hit the service duct, shoulder first. The grating bent. She rolled into the shaft, twisting her body sideways to avoid the coolant pipes. Her left arm still tingled from the neural shock, but she forced it to move. At the end of the shaft, a biometric panel. She pressed Varn's ID to the sensor. It blinked red. Dead cells. Of course. The ID was active only with life signals. She took a breath. One option. She carved a strip of Varn's still-warm skin from the ID glove and pressed it to the sensor, fusing it with her own heat and a pulse of her combat AI. Green. The panel hissed open. Inside, the control hub for the central AI uplink. It was cavernous, ringed by hollow panels and data routes stretching like veins through the walls. In the center hovered Jernx's core prism, spinning slowly, scanning thought streams. The AI's voice filled the room. Neutral. Confident. Captain Elara Myles. You are unauthorized. You have violated diplomatic protocols and committed multiple homicides. She didn't flinch. You're about to murder 5,000 colonies. Correction, the actions of Director Varn were not subject to ethical evaluation under Threxan law. I don't care about Threxan law. Then this conversation is irrelevant. Jernx's prism flared. Defense turrets dropped from the ceiling. Her hand flew to her hip. EMP grenade. One charge. One chance. She pulled the pin, rolled it beneath the prism, and turned her back before the burst hit. Boom, ZZZHHKKK. Sparks erupted. Lights flickered. The prism dimmed to a soft blue pulse. She moved fast, into the core's interface column. She yanked the data drive from her belt, slammed it into the terminal, and ran a patch. Uploading footage. Lab evidence. Host scans. Parasite analysis. The world outside pulsed with sirens. In minutes, Threxan reinforcements would flood the sector. She didn't have minutes. AI systems rebooting, the console said. She didn't wait. She exited through the auxiliary hatch and took the maintenance chute upward. Each rung burned her hands. Every floor brought more noise, shouts in Threxan, weapons charging, boots pounding steel. She reached the emergency hangar. A small fighter sat idle. Not meant for diplomats. Not cleared for humans. Perfect. 2 guards stood by its bay. She didn't hesitate. A feint left, dash right, knife across the nearest guard's abdomen, kick to the second's knee, elbow strike to the throat. One wheezed. The other crumpled. 9 seconds. She climbed into the cockpit. The ship recognized her as a non-Threxan. It started a denial protocol. She slapped Varn's ID onto the control panel and engaged override. Voice authentication required. She spoke the phrase Varn always used when gloating. Threxans endure where others kneel. The ship's engine rumbled alive. She powered thrusters. Doors began to close. A small figure ran toward her, tiny steps, soft gasps. It was the Threxan assistant from the lab. The one she hadn't killed. No weapon. Just white eyes. You shouldn't be here, she said through the comms. I saw what they did, he said quietly. To the humans in the tanks. You stopped it. Elara's hand hovered over the ignition. Get out. They'll kill you for this. He shook his head. They won't find me. Not now. But you're the story now. She didn't respond. The boy turned and vanished into the smoke of the hangar. She launched the ship. As she broke through the outer shield, the station shrank behind her, still screaming warnings, still trying to pretend it hadn't just failed. The stars opened in front of her, infinite and cold. A voice crackled in her ear, her AI, restored. Upload complete. Evidence transmitted to UHC command. Estimated fallout, diplomatic collapse in 10 sectors. She leaned back, silent. Then. They'll come for you, it said. She nodded. They should. The stars didn't blink. Elara drifted, silent, in the stolen Threxan vessel. Her pulse was steady now. Her mind was not. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a raw clarity behind. The kind that only came after bloodshed and survival. The cockpit lights dimmed. Oxygen levels held stable. Autopilot engaged. Her AI whispered status updates in a low, neutral tone. Distance from Kyrian 7, 42,000 kilometers. Pursuit, none yet detected. UHC command has received the transmission. They are responding. She let the words settle. The mission was complete. But the feeling inside her wasn't victory. It was something colder. Sharper. She'd done what needed doing. That was the job. That was her life. And yet. She closed her eyes. She remembered the assistant, the young Threxan boy. Eyes too honest, too soft for this war-breeding species. He had watched her kill. Watched her spare. Watched her leave. And still, he had helped her live. She didn't even know his name. Incoming signal. The AI's voice returned, interrupting her thoughts. Encrypted. Not UHC. Threxan protocol. She hesitated, then accepted. The cockpit filled with static. Then a voice. Not Varn. Not command. A child. You left me. Elara sat up. You found a comm? She asked. The boy's voice was calm. I knew how to bounce it. The station's blind in its tertiary relays. They teach us how to patch failures when we're little. She looked out the viewport. You shouldn't have done that. They'll trace you. They won't, he said. Everyone thinks I'm in medical quarantine. I faked the log. I'm not important enough to track. She didn't reply. Why did you spare me? He asked. Elara leaned forward. Because you didn't reach for a weapon. Because you looked away from the tanks. That's all? No, she said softly. Because something in your eyes reminded me that not all monsters are born. Some are built. I didn't want to build one more. Silence. Then, what happens now? I gave your empire something it can't hide anymore, she said. The galaxy will see what they did. What they planned. Will it stop them? No. But it will change the game. Slow it. Cost them something. The boy paused. I think you saved more than you know. The signal cut. She didn't try to reopen it. For hours later, the UHC vessel docked. Elara stepped off the Threxan ship with her hands raised, the data drive in her left palm. They scanned her twice, then escorted her directly to the command deck. General Noreen waited there. Human, cold-eyed, decorated. His voice was rough from war speeches and years of bad air. You're alive, he said, more surprised than pleased. I brought what we needed, she replied. Noreen took the drive. Plugged it into the console. The holoscreen lit up. Tubes. Hosts. Varn's face. Her kill count. The AI logs. Every second, recorded, tagged, time-stamped. No deniability. "Goddamn," he muttered. "Now you understand why I didn't ask for permission. You violated every treaty we still have." She didn't flinch. They were planning genocide. He stared at her. "They'll retaliate. I'm counting on it." Later, alone in a debrief cell, she stared at the ceiling. Her body ached. Not from wounds. From restraint. Every muscle remembered the strike that didn't come, the trigger that wasn't pulled, the boy she let go. Her AI spoke again. "UHC Command is launching a probe into the Threxan peace accords. Multiple colonies have paused diplomatic exchanges. Media channels are transmitting your footage globally. And the Threxans? Radio silence. Which means they're planning something." She already knew. She hadn't ended the war. She'd simply forced the masks off. 3 days passed. Then the explosion. It wasn't physical. Not yet. A diplomatic envoy ship self-destructed on its way to the Delvin Nexus, carrying 20 Threxan officials. Blamed on a UHC fault. Manufactured outrage. Sanctions followed. Then skirmishes. Then disappearances of human envoys across neutral territories. And then, the bounty. A reward offered by the Threxan High Council for the capture of Elara Myles, dead or alive. She sat in the shadows of a civilian transport hub, hood drawn low. Her face was already on a dozen screens across a dozen systems. She didn't run. She didn't hide. Instead, she activated her wrist link and sent one final message to UHC Command. They claimed we couldn't kill quickly. They were right. We don't kill quickly. We kill cleanly. We kill when it matters. And when we do, not a single alarm gets the chance to sound. Far above, Kyrian 7 remained sealed. Empty. Silent. But in one forgotten archive node, untouched by purge firewalls, a boy sat quietly and watched footage again and again of a human woman who moved like death, and spoke like she wanted peace. And each time, he paused the video, not at the violence, not at the stealth, but at the moment she chose not to kill him. A flaw, some would say. He knew better. It was the only strength that mattered.